Marcus Chen stared at the eviction notice stuck to his apartment door. The bright red letters seemed to mock him. 30 days to pay 3 months of back rent or find somewhere else to live. On New Geneva Station, that might as well have been 30 minutes. He pulled the paper down and walked into his tiny studio apartment. The place was barely bigger than a storage closet, but it was home. The rent had been manageable when he first moved in 2 years ago. Then the war in the Outer Rim started, and refugees flooded the station. Housing prices went through the roof. His salary as a maintenance engineer stayed the same. Marcus sat on his narrow bed and opened his tablet. He scrolled through housing listings, his heart sinking with each price he saw. A shared room in Sector 12 cost more than his entire paycheck. A bunk bed in someone's kitchen was twice what he currently paid for his whole apartment. His savings account showed a number that made him laugh bitterly. After buying food and medicine last month, he had enough credits for maybe a week in a cheap hotel. After that, he would be sleeping in the maintenance tunnels where he worked. The door chime made him look up. His landlord, Mr. Vex, stood in the doorway. The Centauri was 7 feet tall with blue skin and 4 arms. His business suit was expensive, and his smile was cold. "Marcus, my friend," Vex said in his smooth voice, "I see you got my notice." Marcus stood up. "I need more time. I can pay half now and the rest next month." Vex shook his head. "I have 3 families willing to pay double your current rent. They have the credits ready now. You understand business?" "Yes." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "I've never been late before the war started." "War is not my problem," Vex said. "Rent is due in 30 days, full amount." He turned and walked away. Marcus slammed the door and went back to his tablet. He expanded his search to include the dangerous sectors, places where most species would not go. The prices were still too high. Then he saw something different. A listing in Sector 7, middle-class area. Rent split between 2 people. The price made him blink and read it again. It was actually affordable. The listing was simple. Quiet professional seeks responsible roommate. Compatible species only. Private room, shared common areas. Contact Zix. Marcus sent a message immediately. Within 10 minutes, he got a reply with an address and time to meet. Sector 7 was nice. Clean corridors, good lighting, no smell of garbage or engine oil. Marcus checked the address twice. This had to be a mistake. Nobody rented places this nice for prices he could afford. The apartment was on the 20th level, with a view of the station's central hub. Marcus pressed the door chime and waited. The door opened and Marcus stepped back. The woman who answered was tall, almost as tall as Mr. Vex, but thin. Her skin was pale, almost white. Her hair was long and black, and her eyes were violet. They seemed to glow in the hallway lights. When she smiled, Marcus saw that her teeth were very sharp. "You must be Marcus," she said. Her voice was soft, but had a strange accent. "I am Zixatha, but please call me Zix. Come in." The apartment was beautiful. Large windows, comfortable furniture, everything clean and modern. Marcus tried not to stare as Zix led him to the living room. She moved in a way that reminded him of flowing water. "Please sit," Zix said. "Would you like something to drink?" Marcus sat on the couch. It was the most comfortable furniture he had touched in months. "Water is fine, thank you." Zix brought him a glass and sat across from him. She folded her hands in her lap and studied his face. "You seem surprised by something." Marcus took a sip of water. "This place is really nice. And the rent you mentioned, are you sure that's right?" "Yes, the price is correct." Zix looked down at her hands. "I should tell you something before we continue. I am Sanguinari." Marcus had heard the name before but could not remember where. "Okay, what does that mean?" Zix looked surprised. "You do not know my species." Marcus shrugged. "I work in maintenance. I fix things that break. I meet lots of different people, but I don't know all the species' names." Sanguinari feed on bioelectric energy, Zix said slowly. Most species call us energy vampires. We absorb the electrical fields that living beings produce. Marcus nodded. Like the static electricity that builds up sometimes? Or the brain waves they measure in medical scans? Yes, exactly like that. Zix leaned forward. Most people find us disturbing. They think we will drain them or harm them. That is why I have trouble finding roommates. That is why the rent is low. Marcus thought about this. Do you need to hurt someone to feed? No, Zix said quickly. I absorb excess energy that bodies naturally waste, but people do not understand. They are afraid. Marcus looked around the apartment again. His current place had broken lights, a toilet that barely worked, and neighbors who fought every night. This place had working air conditioning. Do you work? He asked. I repair electronic systems for the station. My species is good with electrical things. That makes sense, Marcus said. I fix mechanical things, you fix electrical things. We could probably help each other with work sometimes. Zix stared at him. You are not afraid? Marcus laughed. I spent yesterday crawling through a sewage pipe to fix a pump. I've been shocked by station power systems more times than I can count. My neighbor is a Gorthak who plays music at 3 in the morning. A quiet roommate who pays half the rent sounds pretty good to me. You would be comfortable living with someone who feeds on energy while you sleep? Marcus shrugged. Do I need to do anything special? Like wear something or sleep in a certain place? No, nothing like that. Most people do not even notice. Then I don't see a problem. Marcus stood up. When can I move in? Zix stood too, moving with that flowing grace. You are very different from other humans I have met. Maybe, Marcus said. But I need a place to live and you need a roommate. Sometimes the best solutions are the simple ones. They shook hands. Zix's skin was cool but not unpleasant. Her grip was firm and careful. Welcome home, Marcus, she said. As Marcus walked back to his old apartment to pack, he felt lighter than he had in months. Maybe this would work out better than he thought. Marcus moved in 3 days later. He owned very little, so the process was simple. 2 bags of clothes, some personal items, and his toolkit. Everything fit easily in his new room. The room was twice the size of his old apartment. It had a real window that looked out at the station's shopping district. Marcus sat on the bed and watched people walk by far below. For the first time in months, he felt relaxed. Marcus? Zix knocked on his open door. I am making dinner. Would you like to join me? In the kitchen, Marcus watched Zix prepare food with precise movements. Everything she did seemed planned and careful. She cut vegetables into perfect squares and arranged them in neat rows on the counter. You are very organized, Marcus said. Sanguinari culture values order and precision, Zix replied. Chaos in small things leads to chaos in important things. Marcus looked at his own plate after they sat down to eat. Zix had arranged the food in a pattern that looked almost like art. This is beautiful. Thank you. You are welcome. Zix picked up her fork and knife. She ate slowly, chewing each bite exactly 20 times before swallowing. She never spoke with food in her mouth. Marcus ate normally, the way he always did. He talked about his day at work while eating. He saw Zix watching him with a confused expression. Is something wrong? Marcus asked. You eat very casually, Zix said carefully. In my culture, meals are quiet times for reflection. Oh, Marcus put down his fork. I'm sorry, I didn't know. No, please continue, Zix said quickly. I am learning about human customs. Your way is just different. The next morning, Marcus woke up feeling more rested than he had in weeks. He usually tossed and turned all night in his old place. Here, he had slept deeply and peacefully. He felt energetic and clear-headed. In the bathroom, he found that the mirror had been cleaned and all his toiletries were arranged in neat rows. The towels were folded perfectly. Marcus smiled. Living with someone who was naturally organized had benefits. At breakfast, Zix was quiet and seemed tired. Her violet eyes were less bright than usual. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked. "I am fine. Just a bit low on energy. It happens sometimes." Marcus remembered what she had told him about feeding. "Is that why you seemed tired? Do you need to feed?" Zix looked uncomfortable. "I usually absorb ambient energy while people sleep. The brain produces excess electrical activity during dreams. But I do not want to disturb you." "Disturb me? How?" "I would need to be near you while you sleep. Most people find this intrusive." Marcus thought about it while he ate his breakfast. "What exactly do you do? Do you touch me or anything?" "No touching. I simply sit nearby and absorb the excess bioelectricity your body naturally releases. It does not harm you at all. Many people actually sleep better because their energy fields become more balanced." "That might explain why I slept so well last night," Marcus said. "Were you already doing it?" Zix nodded, looking embarrassed. "I am sorry. I should have asked first. I was very hungry, and you were producing such clean, strong energy. Most humans have chaotic bioelectric fields, but yours is very stable." Marcus laughed. "You don't need to apologize. I told you I don't mind. Besides, if it helps me sleep better, that's good for both of us." Over the next few weeks, they developed a routine. Marcus would read or watch entertainment programs before bed, while Zix sat in a chair nearby. Sometimes she would ask questions about human entertainment. She was fascinated by comedy shows. "Why do humans laugh at characters who fail?" she asked one evening. "It's not that we enjoy suffering," Marcus explained. "We laugh because the situations are absurd, and usually nobody gets really hurt. Sanguinary humor is very different. We find cleverness amusing, not chaos." Marcus was learning about Zix, too. She never left dishes in the sink. She always announced when she was leaving the apartment and when she would return. She asked permission before using anything that belonged to him, even things he had said she could use freely. "You don't have to ask every time," Marcus told her when she requested permission to use his tablet to check station news. "In my culture, using someone else's possessions without asking each time is very rude," Zix explained. Marcus started paying attention to these cultural differences. He began cleaning his dishes immediately after eating. He started telling Zix when he was leaving for work and when he would be back. Small changes that seemed to make her more comfortable. In return, Zix began to relax some of her formal behavior. She started talking during meals, asking about his work and telling him about hers. She laughed at his jokes, even the ones that were not very funny. One evening, Marcus came home to find all the lights in the apartment working perfectly. They had been flickering for weeks. "Did you call maintenance?" he asked. "No," Zix said. "I adjusted the power flow through the circuits. It was a simple matter of redistributing the electrical load." "You can do that?" "Sanguinari have natural control over bioelectric and electrical systems. I can sense imbalances and correct them." Marcus looked around the apartment with new understanding. The temperature was always perfect. The water pressure in the shower was excellent. The entertainment system never had glitches. "You've been fixing things this whole time, haven't you?" Zix nodded. "I hope you do not mind. I cannot help myself. When I sense electrical problems, I automatically correct them." "Mind?" "Zix, you've made this place work better than it probably did when it was new." The next day at work, Marcus found himself thinking about their arrangement differently. He had been focused on finding affordable housing, but he had gained something much better: a roommate who was quiet, clean, organized, and could fix any electrical problem. That evening, Marcus brought home a bottle of Centauri wine and 2 glasses. "What is this for?" Zix asked. "I wanted to celebrate," Marcus said. "This is the best living situation I've ever had." They sat on the couch and drank wine while watching the lights of passing ships through the large windows. "Marcus," Zix said quietly, I have lived alone for many years. Most species avoid sanguinari. You are the first person who has treated me as simply normal. You are normal, Marcus said. You just happen to eat electricity instead of food. I've had roommates who were much weirder than that. Zix laughed, a sound like silver bells. You make everything sound so simple. Most things are simple, Marcus said. People just make them complicated. As they sat together in comfortable silence, Marcus realized he was not just grateful for affordable rent, he was grateful for a friend. In all the years he had lived on the station, he had never felt this relaxed and at home. He was starting to understand that some of the best things in life came from the most unexpected places. Marcus woke up feeling terrible. His head pounded, his throat was sore, and his whole body ached. He tried to get out of bed, but felt dizzy and weak. "Zix!" he called out, his voice rough. She appeared in his doorway immediately. "Marcus, you do not look well." "I think I have the flu," he said, falling back onto his pillow. "It's going around at work. 3 guys called in sick this week." Zix moved closer, and her expression changed to worry. "Your bioelectric field is very erratic. The patterns are chaotic and weak." Marcus closed his eyes. "That makes sense. When humans get sick, everything goes out of balance. What do you need? Medicine? Food? Should I contact medical?" "Just rest and fluids," Marcus said. "Maybe some fever medicine from the pharmacy. It's a common virus. It will pass in a few days." Zix left and returned with water and the medicine Marcus had requested. She helped him sit up to take it. "Your energy field is getting worse," she said with growing alarm. "The electrical patterns are very unstable." "It's okay," Marcus said weakly. "Human bodies fight illness differently than other species. We run fevers and produce weird brain chemistry when we're sick." But as the day went on, Marcus felt worse instead of better. His fever climbed higher, and he started having chills. Zix sat in the chair beside his bed, watching him with obvious distress. "I want to help," she said. "I can sense the imbalances in your bioelectric field. Perhaps I can stabilize them." "Is that safe?" Marcus asked through chattering teeth. "I have never done it with a human, but the principle should be the same as repairing electrical systems." Marcus was too sick to think clearly. "Okay, try it." Zix placed her hands near Marcus's head, not quite touching. He felt a strange tingling sensation, like static electricity running over his skin. For a moment, the chills stopped. But then Marcus felt worse than before. The room spun around him, and his stomach lurched. "Stop," he whispered. Zix pulled back immediately, her face pale with panic. "I made it worse. I do not understand human biology well enough." Marcus's fever spiked higher. He began to shake uncontrollably, and his breathing became rapid and shallow. Zix had never seen anything like it. "I must call for medical help," she said, reaching for her communication device. "Station medical, this is emergency dispatch," came the voice. "Please send help to apartment 7G 24/7, Zix said, trying to keep her voice steady. "My roommate is very ill. High fever, difficulty breathing, severe bioelectric field disruption." "Species of patient?" "Human." "Species of caller?" "Sanguinari." There was a pause. "Medical team is on the way. Please step away from the patient and wait for arrival." Zix heard the tone change in the dispatcher's voice. She understood what it meant. Within minutes, she heard footsteps in the corridor. But these were not just medical personnel. The door chimed, and Zix opened it to find 2 medical technicians and 3 security officers. "Where is the human?" asked the lead security officer, a centauri with hard eyes. "In the bedroom. He has influenza. I called for medical help because his fever was very high." The medical team moved toward Marcus's room, while the security officers stayed with Zix. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us for questioning," said the security officer. I do not understand. I called for help for my roommate. Sanguinary energy vampires are required to report any bioelectric disruption in other species, the officer said. Failure to do so is a crime. So is illegal feeding that causes harm. Zix felt cold fear in her chest. I did not harm him. He is sick with a common human virus. That will be determined by medical examination, the officer said. You need to come with us now. In Marcus's room, the medical technicians were scanning him with their equipment. One of them, a female Altarian with blue skin and silver hair, looked up as the security officer approached. How is he? The officer asked. High fever, elevated heart rate, signs of severe bioelectric disruption, she reported. Classic symptoms of energy vampire feeding. No, Zix said from the doorway. He was already sick when I tried to help. I made it worse by accident, but I did not cause his illness. The security officer turned to her. You admit to feeding on him? I tried to stabilize his bioelectric field to help with his fever. It was a mistake. I do not have experience with human biology. Unauthorized feeding with harmful results, the officer said into his communication device. Suspect admits to the action. They took Zix away while Marcus was loaded onto a medical transport. He was barely conscious, but he heard voices talking about energy vampire attacks and illegal feeding. He tried to speak, to tell them Zix had not hurt him, but the words would not come. At the medical facility, human doctors quickly diagnosed Marcus with a common strain of influenza, complicated by dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. They gave him fluids and medicine, and within hours he began to feel better. Where is Zix? He asked the doctor when his fever broke. The sanguinary who was feeding on you? She's been detained pending investigation. She wasn't feeding on me, Marcus said. She's my roommate. I got sick at work. She tried to help when my fever got too high. The doctor, a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes, looked surprised. You live with a sanguinary voluntarily? Yes. She's a good roommate. She's never hurt me. Mr. Chen, sanguinary energy feeding can be addictive to the host. You may not realize the extent of what was being done to you. That's not what happened, Marcus said firmly. I got the flu. She tried to help. She made it worse by accident because she doesn't understand human biology. But she didn't cause my illness. The doctor made notes in her tablet. We'll need to run more tests to determine the extent of any bioelectric damage. There's no damage, Marcus said, getting frustrated. I just had the flu. But no one seemed to believe him. Over the next day, as Marcus recovered fully from his illness, he learned that Zix had been moved to a detention facility for dangerous species. She was being held pending a formal hearing on charges of illegal feeding and assault. Marcus demanded to see her, but was told that contact between victims and their attackers was not permitted during investigation. She's not my attacker, Marcus said to every official who would listen. She's my friend. Sir, we understand this is difficult, said the social worker assigned to his case. Energy vampire victims often develop psychological bonds with their feeders. It's a known side effect of the process. Marcus realized that no one was going to believe him. To everyone else, the situation was obvious. A predatory sanguinary had been feeding on an innocent human until the human became ill. The fact that they lived together was seen as proof of long-term victimization. Sitting in his hospital bed, Marcus felt angry and helpless. Zix was in jail because she had tried to help him. Their comfortable life together was destroyed because of prejudice and misunderstanding. But Marcus was not the kind of person who accepted defeat easily. If no one would listen to his words, he would have to find another way to prove the truth. He began to plan. Marcus was released from the medical facility after 2 days, but he was not allowed to return to his apartment. The space was sealed as a crime scene while investigators gathered evidence. He had to stay in a temporary housing unit in Sector 12, the kind of place he could never afford before. The first thing Marcus did was visit the station's legal aid office. He sat across from a tired-looking Altarian lawyer named Kethara, who reviewed Zix's case file. "Mr. Chen, I appreciate your concern for your roommate," Kethara said, "but these cases are usually straightforward. Sanguinary feeding gone wrong, human victim in denial. The medical evidence supports charges of assault and illegal feeding." "What medical evidence?" Marcus asked. "I had the flu. That's what made me sick. Not Zix." "The bioelectric disruption patterns in your system were consistent with energy vampire feeding," Kethara explained. "Your roommate admitted to the feeding when questioned." "She admitted to trying to help when I was already sick," Marcus said. "There's a difference." Kethara looked at him with the expression adults used when talking to children. "Mr. Chen, energy vampires are very manipulative. They make their victims believe they care about them. It's how they maintain long-term feeding relationships." Marcus stood up. "You're not going to help, are you?" "I will represent your roommate to the best of my ability, but the evidence is very strong. The best outcome would be deportation instead of prison time." Marcus left the legal aid office and went to the station's administrative center. If lawyers would not listen, maybe bureaucrats would respond to data and documentation. He requested access to his building's maintenance records for the past 3 months. As a station employee, he had the right to review infrastructure data for any building where he lived. The records showed something interesting. Power fluctuations in their apartment building had decreased by 60% since Zix moved in. Energy efficiency was up 20%. Equipment failures in their sector had dropped to almost zero. Marcus printed the reports and took them to the building supervisor, a gruff human named Rodriguez who managed maintenance for their entire sector. "Rodriguez, look at this data," Marcus said, spreading the papers on Rodriguez's desk. "Building 7G has been running better than any other building in your sector." Rodriguez studied the numbers. "Yeah, that's weird. Usually, older buildings like 7G have constant problems." "My roommate is a sanguinari. She's been unconsciously stabilizing the electrical systems while she lives there." "The one who got arrested for feeding on you?" "She didn't feed on me. She was helping keep the building's power grid stable. These numbers prove she was beneficial, not harmful." Rodriguez looked thoughtful. "You know, I was wondering why I hadn't gotten any service calls from 7G lately. Usually that building is a nightmare. Will you testify to that?" "Testify? I don't know about getting involved in legal stuff." "Rodriguez, an innocent person is sitting in jail because of prejudice and ignorance. You have data that could help her." Rodriguez sighed and looked at the numbers again. "Yeah, okay. If it helps, I'll testify." Next, Marcus went to the medical facility and requested his complete health records for the past year. Human patients had the right to access their own medical data. He studied the bioelectric field scans carefully. The scans showed that his bioelectric patterns had actually improved over the 3 months he lived with Zix. His brainwave activity was more stable, his heart rhythm was more regular, and his overall energy levels were higher than they had been in years. Marcus took this data to Dr. Sarah Kim, the human doctor who had treated him for the flu. She agreed to meet with him during her break. "Doctor, look at these scans," Marcus said, showing her his medical history. "My bioelectric patterns have been getting better, not worse." Dr. Kim studied the data with growing interest. "This is unusual. If you were being fed upon regularly, we should see degradation over time, not improvement." "That's because Zix wasn't feeding on me in a harmful way. She was absorbing excess energy while balancing my bioelectric field. It's like she was tuning an engine while using the waste heat." "That's an interesting analogy," Dr. Kim said. "But the medical literature on sanguinary feeding doesn't describe this kind of symbiotic relationship." "Maybe the medical literature is wrong. Maybe nobody has studied healthy sanguinary human relationships because everyone assumes they can't exist." Dr. Kim was quiet for a long moment. "Would you be willing to undergo more detailed testing?" If we can prove that your bioelectric patterns were improving rather than degrading, it could change how we understand these cases. Yes, Marcus said immediately. Whatever it takes. The tests took 3 days. Dr. Kim worked with a sanguinary specialist from another station who reviewed the results remotely. The findings were surprising. Marcus's bioelectric field showed signs of careful balancing and optimization. Instead of the chaotic drain patterns typical of predatory feeding, his energy systems showed evidence of gentle regulation and stabilization. Mr. Chen, Dr. Kim said when the results came back, these patterns suggest that your roommate was actually helping to maintain your biological systems in optimal condition. This is unlike anything we've seen before. Will you testify to that? I'll do more than testify. I'm going to write a research paper about this case. If sanguinary can form beneficial relationships with other species, it could change how we handle these situations. Marcus took the medical findings and the building maintenance data to the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor, a stern centauri named Vexitar, was not interested in listening. Mr. Chen, we appreciate your loyalty to your roommate, but she has confessed to feeding on you. The case is clear. She confessed to trying to help when I was sick. These medical records prove that her presence was beneficial to my health, not harmful. Medical records can be misinterpreted, Vexitar said dismissively. Energy vampires are dangerous. This prosecution serves the public good. Marcus realized that the prosecutor was not interested in evidence or truth. This was about politics and prejudice. Convicting a sanguinary would make Vexitar look tough on dangerous species. That evening, Marcus sat in his temporary housing unit and made a list of everything he had learned. The evidence was clear that Zix had not harmed him, but the system seemed determined to convict her anyway. He thought about giving up. The authorities had more power, more resources, and more experience. What could one maintenance engineer do against the entire station legal system? But Marcus had never been the kind of person who walked away from problems. When machines broke, he fixed them. When systems failed, he found solutions. This was just another kind of problem. He opened his tablet and began researching interstellar law. If station authorities would not listen to evidence, maybe higher authorities would. There had to be appeal processes, oversight committees, rights organizations. Marcus worked through the night, learning about legal procedures he had never needed to know before. By morning, he had a plan. The station authorities were about to learn that humans could be very stubborn when they believed in something, and Marcus believed in justice for his friend. Marcus spent 2 weeks learning more about interstellar law than he ever wanted to know. He discovered that the station authority was part of a larger Federation legal system. Citizens could appeal local decisions to regional courts if they could prove procedural errors or rights violations. He filed 17 different appeals and complaints. Most were rejected immediately, but 3 were accepted for review. Marcus also contacted every rights organization, news service, and legal aid group he could find. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kim's research about beneficial sanguinary relationships had attracted attention from xenobiology researchers across the Federation. A professor named Dr. Elizabeth Shaw from the University of New Terra contacted Marcus directly. Mr. Chen, I've reviewed Dr. Kim's findings about your case, Dr. Shaw said during their video call. This could be the first documented case of beneficial interspecies bioelectric symbiosis. Would you be willing to participate in expanded research? If it helps Zix, yes, Marcus said immediately. Dr. Shaw arrived on New Geneva Station 3 days later with a team of researchers and legal observers. They conducted extensive tests on Marcus and reviewed all the evidence he had gathered. The results were even more impressive than Dr. Kim's initial findings. Marcus's health had improved in every measurable way during his time with Zix. His immune system was stronger, his stress levels were lower, and his cognitive function had increased. More importantly, Dr. Shaw's team found evidence that other sanguinari throughout the galaxy might be capable of similar beneficial relationships, but fear and prejudice prevented them from being studied. "This changes everything," Dr. Shaw told Marcus. "We're not just talking about one case. This could revolutionize how we understand an entire species." The research team's findings made news throughout the Federation. Suddenly, Zix's case was no longer a simple assault prosecution. It became a test case for interspecies relations and scientific discovery. Marcus used the media attention to pressure station authorities. He gave interviews to news services, explaining how the prejudice against sanguinari had led to false charges against an innocent person. "Zix never hurt me," Marcus said during a live broadcast that reached 17 different star systems. "She helped me in ways I didn't even realize, and now she's sitting in jail because people are afraid of things they don't understand." The public response was overwhelming. Marcus received thousands of messages from across the galaxy. Some supported him, others criticized him, but everyone was talking about the case. The pressure finally became too much for station authorities. Prosecutor Vextar agreed to a deal. Zix would be released if she agreed to participate in ongoing research and submit to regular monitoring. "It's not perfect," Marcus's new lawyer told him, "but it gets her out of jail without a conviction." "Will she be able to come home?" Marcus asked. "That's more complicated. The apartment has been sealed as evidence, and there may be restrictions on where she can live." Marcus thought about this problem the way he approached any broken system. If the current solution did not work, find a different solution. He requested a meeting with Station Administrator Kalath, a Centauri woman who had been following the case closely. She agreed to see him, probably because the media attention was making the station look bad. "Mr. Chen, this situation has caused significant disruption to station operations," Administrator Kalath said. "What do you want from this meeting?" Marcus placed a folder on her desk. "I want to propose a solution that benefits everyone." Inside the folder was a detailed plan for an interspecies cohabitation program. Marcus had spent days researching and writing it. "There are dozens of species on this station who have trouble finding housing because of prejudice or biological incompatibilities," Marcus explained. "What if we created a program to help them find compatible partners?" Administrator Kalath read through the proposal. "You want to turn this incident into a social program?" "I want to turn this incident into an opportunity. Zix and I have proven that different species can live together successfully. With proper screening and support, other partnerships could work too." Marcus showed her the data about reduced maintenance costs in their building, improved health outcomes for both species, and the research potential for studying beneficial interspecies relationships. "This could make New Geneva Station a leader in interspecies cooperation," Marcus said. "Instead of being known for discriminating against sanguinari, you could be known for innovation." Administrator Kalath was quiet for a long time. "You would be willing to be the test case for this program?" "Zix and I would be the first official participants, yes." "And you would submit to ongoing monitoring and research?" "If it means Zix comes home and we can help other people find good living situations, then yes." 2 days later, Zix was released from detention. Marcus was waiting outside the facility when she walked out. She looked thinner and tired, but her violet eyes still glowed with their inner light. "Marcus," she said, her voice soft with emotion. "Hey." "Roommate," Marcus said, smiling. "Ready to come home?" They embraced carefully. Zix's formal upbringing made public displays of emotion difficult for her, but Marcus could feel how relieved she was. "I thought I would never see you again," Zix said. "They told me you had been conditioned to believe I cared about you." "They told me the same thing about you," Marcus said. "Apparently, we're both victims of some kind of psychological manipulation." Zix laughed, the sound like silver bells. "Yes, the terrible manipulation of friendship and respect." Their new apartment was larger than the old one, provided by the station as part of the interspecies cohabitation program. Marcus and Zix were the program's first official participants, but they would not be the last. Within 6 months, 12 other interspecies partnerships had formed through the program. A methane-breathing titan shared space with a silicon-based crystalline using a specially designed atmospheric barrier. A photosynthetic Verdani partnered with a heat-generating Pyrex, creating a perfect environmental balance. Marcus and Zix became unofficial consultants for the program, helping other pairs work through practical and cultural challenges. "We have created something good," Zix said one evening as they watched the station's lights twinkle outside their window. "We have," Marcus agreed, "and it all started because I needed cheap rent." "Perhaps the best solutions really are the simple ones," Zix said, repeating something Marcus had told her months ago. Marcus looked around their comfortable home, thinking about everything that had happened. He had found much more than affordable housing. He had found a friend, a family, and a purpose. "You know what the funny thing is?" Marcus said. "I was afraid I'd end up sleeping in the maintenance tunnels. Instead, I ended up with the best home I've ever had." Zix smiled, showing her sharp teeth. "Home is not a place, Marcus. Home is who you share it with." Outside their window, ships from dozens of different worlds docked at the station. People of hundreds of species went about their daily lives, most of them keeping to their own kind out of habit and fear. But in apartment 9F30021, a human and a sanguinari had proven that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships created the most beautiful homes. And sometimes the simplest solutions really were the best ones.